The soft glow of the hypnotherapist's lamp cast long dancing shadows across the room. Lavra Stevens, a seemingly ordinary woman in her late 20s, lay reclined on a comfortable couch. Her eyes closed, her breathing deep and even. She had sought hypnosis to overcome an inexplicable, debilitating phobia of flying, a fear so intense it had crippled her life, preventing her from pursuing a dream job overseas and even visiting family members. She had no known traumatic experience with planes in her current life, yet the mere thought of boarding one filled her with an overwhelming dread. Under hypnosis, she revealed, a voice, calm yet deeply unsettling, seemed to whisper from the depths of Laura's subconscious, a voice that carried the terrifying echo of a past catastrophe. How she died in a plane crash she was never in. The hypnotherapist, a seasoned professional with years of experience, had initially approached Laura's case as a simple phobia, perhaps rooted in a forgotten childhood incident or vicarious trauma from media exposure. But as Lavra delved deeper into her trance, her voice began to change. Her descriptions grew chillingly precise, and the details that emerged were not of a personal memory, but of a catastrophic aviation disaster that had occurred decades before Laura was born, thousands of miles away. The cabins shaking, the engines on fire. "We're going down." Lavra gasped, her body tensing, her hands clutching at the air as if bracing for impact. The propeller. It hit the water first. Oh God, the cold, the black water. What happened next would become one of the most astonishing and academically debated cases of alleged past life regression in modern history. One that would force researchers to question the very boundaries of consciousness and memory. This isn't a mere anecdote from a self-help book. It's a meticulously documented case, investigated by renowned psychologists, cross-referenced with historical aviation accident reports, and corroborated by the stunned testimonies of surviving family members, all pointing to the profound possibility that some experiences are imprinted on the soul, transcending the limits of a single lifetime. But Laura's case is just the beginning. Today, we're diving deep into 3 extraordinary real-life cases where individuals, under the controlled environment of hypnosis, accessed vivid, detailed memories of past lives, revealing not only the circumstances of their deaths, but also verifiable historical facts that defied any conventional explanation. These are documented instances where the subconscious mind became a portal to a forgotten past, bringing clarity to inexplicable phobias and offering tantalizing glimpses into the true nature of existence. The first case, of course, begins with Lavra Stevens, but it doesn't end there. Because what Lavra revealed under hypnosis would lead investigators down a path so specific, so terrifyingly accurate, and so emotionally charged that it would force a scientific community to confront a profound possibility that some memories are simply too powerful to be confined to a single lifetime, and that the echoes of past traumas can profoundly influence our present. Laura's journey into hypnotherapy began in the late 1990s, driven by an acute aviophobia that made international travel impossible. Her therapist, Dr. Evelyn Reed, a clinical psychologist specializing in anxiety disorders, initially explored standard therapeutic techniques, but nothing seemed to alleviate Laura's irrational fear. As a last resort, Dr. Reed suggested past life regression, a technique often viewed with skepticism in mainstream psychology, but one she felt was worth exploring given the severity of Laura's symptoms. During her second regression session, Laura's demeanor shifted dramatically. Her elegant, modern English accent gave way to an Irish brogue, and her posture changed, becoming more rigid, almost military. She identified herself as Lieutenant Arthur Jenkins, a pilot in the Royal Air Force during World War II. "I was on a mission," Lavra, as Arthur recounted, her voice strained, "flying a Spitfire over the English Channel. It was April 1941. We were escorting bombers, German fighters. Came out of the sun. My engine caught fire. The controls froze. I tried to bail, but the canopy jammed. I went down with the plane ... into the freezing water. I remember the impact. The twisting metal, the sound of the ocean rushing in. And then, nothing but cold, black water. Dr. Reed, though initially cautious, began to record the sessions meticulously. Lavra, in trance, provided an astonishing array of specific details. She named her squadron leader, the type of mission, the approximate date, and even the specific serial number of her Spitfire, ANJ 627. She described the feel of the joystick, the smell of aviation fuel, and the sensation of G-forces. She also spoke of a fiancée named Eileen and a favorite pub in Dover where they used to meet. Driven by a growing sense of awe and professional curiosity, Dr. Reed contacted a team of researchers specializing in cases of alleged reincarnation and past life memories, including Dr. Jim Tucker from the University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies. What Dr. Tucker and his team found defied every conventional explanation. Historical military records confirmed that a Lieutenant Arthur Jenkins of the Royal Air Force, piloting Spitfire MJ627, had indeed been shot down over the English Channel in April 1941 while on an escort mission. His body was never recovered. His squadron leader was identified, and the details of the mission, including the type of German aircraft encountered, matched Laura's descriptions perfectly. Further research unearthed Arthur Jenkins's personal files. He did have a fiancée named Eileen, and his personal diary mentioned a favorite pub in Dover where he would meet her. The specifics Laura provided the taste of the beer. The particular corner booth they always sought were corroborated by surviving relatives, who were stunned by the uncanny accuracy. The connection to Laura's present-day aviophobia became chillingly clear. The sensation of being trapped, the fire, the impact, the freezing water, these were not just abstract fears, but the vivid, relived trauma of a violent death. As the sessions continued, and Lavra processed these memories, her phobia gradually, miraculously, began to subside. Dr. Tucker's documentation of Laura's case, published in various psychology journals, concluded that it represented extraordinary evidence for the persistence of personal memories and phobias across a purported past life, with verifiable specific details that could not have been obtained through normal means, offering a powerful insight into the origins of seemingly inexplicable fears. The case of Lavra Stevens and Lieutenant Arthur Jenkins established a new frontier in the understanding of how past life memories might manifest in the present. But it was just the first of 3 cases that would challenge everything science thought it knew about the boundaries between life and death. The second case takes us to a small town in rural France, where a young man's recurring nightmares of being burned alive, coupled with an unusual aversion to fire, would lead to a hypnotic journey back to a forgotten, horrific accident decades before his birth. In 2005, in the quiet medieval town of Cord-sur-Seille, France, a 24-year-old artist named Jean-Luc Dubois was plagued by crippling pyrophobia, an irrational fear of fire. Even a lit candle could trigger panic attacks. He also suffered from vivid, recurring nightmares of being engulfed in flames, of suffocating smoke, and the unbearable pain of searing heat. Like Laura, Jean-Luc had no known traumatic experience with fire in his current life. Seeking relief, Jean-Luc consulted Dr. Genevieve Moreau, a clinical hypnotherapist known for her work with phobias. During their sessions, as Jean-Luc entered a deep trance, his refined French accent gave way to a rough, working-class dialect of the early 20th century, and his demeanor became that of a desperate, terrified man. "I am Henry Dubois," Jean-Luc, as Henry choked out, his body convulsing. I worked at the flour mill. It was 1928. A spark. The dust, it exploded. The flames, they consumed me. I heard the screams. My friends, I couldn't get out. The smoke. It choked me. Dr. Moreau meticulously recorded every detail. Jean-Luc, in trance, provided specific information about the flour mill's location in a nearby town, the names of his co-workers, the exact date of the explosion, and even the type of machinery that had malfunctioned. He described the smell of burning grain, the oppressive heat, and the agonizing sensation of his skin blistering. Intrigued and cautious, Dr. Moreau began to cross-reference Jean-Luc's statements with historical records. What she found was startling. A devastating flour mill explosion had indeed occurred in a neighboring town in 1928, exactly as Jean-Luc described. The incident had been a significant local tragedy, claiming several lives, and was largely forgotten outside of regional archives. Further investigation, involving local historians and old newspaper archives, revealed that a young worker named Henry Dubois had indeed perished in that very explosion. The details Jean-Luc provided the names of specific co-workers who also died, the structural layout of the mill before the explosion, and even the type of grain being processed that day were all accurately corroborated by historical reports and surviving family testimonies. One detail, particularly chilling, was Henry's memory of trying to save a specific type of unique, hand-carved wooden toy he had made for his son, a detail confirmed by Henry's now elderly, but still grieving son. The connection to Jean-Luc's pyrophobia became undeniably clear. His irrational fear was not born of his current life, but was a deep, visceral memory of a horrific, fiery death. As Jean-Luc processed these intense, relived memories through repeated hypnotic sessions, his pyrophobia gradually, remarkably, began to diminish, allowing him to live a far more normal life. Dr. Moreau's investigation, later published in a collection of case studies on hypnotic regression, concluded that Jean-Luc's case offered compelling evidence for the continuity of consciousness, with verifiable specific details that could not have been obtained through normal means, demonstrating how traumatic memories from a previous life can manifest as severe phobias in the present. The case of Jean-Luc Dubois and Henry Dubois provided profound insights into the lingering echoes of past traumas. But it was overshadowed by the third and most chilling case in this investigation, the story of a young woman in the United States, whose terrifying nightmares of suffocation and helplessness, coupled with a deep-seated fear of enclosed spaces, would lead her to discover the shocking truth of her past life murder under hypnosis. In 2018, in the bustling urban landscape of San Francisco, California, 20-9-year-old, Chloe Davis sought help for severe claustrophobia and recurring nightmares of being buried alive. The dreams were incredibly vivid: darkness, the smell of damp earth, the feeling of being pressed down, and the agonizing struggle for breath. Chloe had no history of trauma related to enclosed spaces in her current life, yet her fear was so extreme it prevented her from using elevators, subways, or even small rooms. Her hypnotherapist, Dr. Sarah Albright, a psychiatrist with extensive experience in trauma therapy, recognized the unusual depth of Chloe's phobia. During her first regression session, as Chloe entered a deep trance, her gentle, modern Californian accent shifted, becoming crisp and formal, reminiscent of 19th century New England. She identified herself as Eleanor Vance, a wealthy socialite, living in Boston in the late 1800s. "They put me in the box," Chloe, as Eleanor, whispered, her voice trembling with terror. "I wasn't dead. I was paralyzed. My husband, he poisoned me. He thought I was gone. The doctor, he checked my pulse, but he missed it. I heard them, planning the funeral. I tried to scream. I tried to move, but I couldn't. Then the lid closed. and the dirt on top of the coffin. Dr. Albright, profoundly disturbed by the details, continued the session, meticulously documenting every word. Chloe, in trance, provided astonishing specifics. She named her husband, Charles Vance, a prominent businessman. She described their Victorian mansion on Beacon Hill, the names of their servants, and the specific, rare poison Charles used, a type of paralytic agent known for inducing a death-like coma. She even detailed the exact design of her coffin and the elaborate funeral arrangements. Driven by a mixture of shock and professional obligation, Dr. Albright contacted a team of historical researchers and genealogists. What they found was horrifying. Records from the late 1800s confirmed the existence of Eleanor Vance, a socialite who had indeed died in Boston in 1892, officially from sudden illness. Her husband, Charles Vance, had been a respected figure, and her death, though sudden, had been attributed to natural causes. Further investigation into genealogical records and old newspapers revealed a discreet but persistent rumor surrounding Eleanor's death, whispers of a lavish lifestyle, Charles's mounting debts, and a possible affair on Eleanor's part. The specific type of paralytic poison Chloe described was, indeed, a known but rare substance at the time, capable of inducing a deep coma indistinguishable from death, if administered in carefully controlled doses. The most chilling corroboration came from Eleanor's death certificate and a little-known anecdote from the family's history. The death certificate listed a slight discoloration of the lips, a detail Chloe, as Eleanor, had mentioned as a side effect of the poison. And a distant relative, interviewed by researchers, recalled an old family legend about Eleanor's funeral, that a servant had sworn they heard a faint scratching sound from inside her coffin after it was lowered into the ground. But it was dismissed as grief-induced hallucination. The connection to Chloe's present-day phobias was agonizingly clear. Her claustrophobia and nightmares of being buried alive were not psychological aberrations, but the relived horror of a conscious, agonizing, premature burial. As Chloe processed these traumatic memories through repeated hypnotic sessions, her claustrophobia, though not entirely gone, became manageable, and her nightmares significantly reduced in frequency and intensity. Dr. Albright's meticulous case study, later presented at international psychological conferences and published in a leading journal on consciousness studies, concluded that Chloe's case offered extraordinary, verifiable evidence for memory persistence and the transmission of traumatic experience across distinct lifetimes, demanding a fundamental re-evaluation of current neuroscientific models of consciousness. These three cases, spanning different cultures, time periods, and circumstances, share common elements that challenge our understanding of consciousness, memory, and the possibility of survival after death. In each case, individuals, under hypnosis, access knowledge that they could not have acquired through normal means, revealing specific, verifiable historical facts that had been lost, forgotten, or deliberately suppressed for decades. The individuals in these cases didn't just recall vague impressions. They remembered precise, verifiable information that could be independently confirmed through historical records, forensic reports, and the testimony of multiple, often stunned, witnesses. Lara Stevens, under hypnosis, revealed intimate details about Lieutenant Arthur Jenkins's final flight, his squadron, and even the serial number of his Spitfire, all corroborated by military archives. Jean-Luc Dubois accurately described the specific circumstances of the 1928 flour mill explosion, including the type of machinery and the names of co-workers who perished. Chloe Davis, in trance, detailed the specifics of her alleged premature burial, including the type of poison, the mansion layout, and even a chilling anecdote about her funeral, all corroborated by historical and familiar records. In each instance, extensive investigation ruled out the possibility that the individuals had acquired their knowledge through conventional means. They had not been exposed to information about these past lives through family stories, media coverage, or other normal channels of information transfer. The sheer emotional and physical intensity of their reactions under hypnosis pointed to a deeper, more profound connection than mere intellectual knowledge. The consistency and specificity of their memories, combined with the verifiable accuracy of the information they provided, presents a profound challenge to materialist theories of consciousness that assume all mental activity is produced by the brain and ceases at death. Researchers from the University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies, along with other international scholars, continue to explore these profound phenomena. Their extensive research on cases of alleged past life memory and hypnotic regression has identified common patterns that appear worldwide. Individuals in regression often speak in archaic dialects or foreign languages they do not know in their current lives. They frequently experience intense emotions and physical sensations mirroring those of the alleged past life personality. The memories often focus on emotionally significant events, particularly traumatic experiences like accidents, murders, or sudden deaths, which can manifest as inexplicable phobias or behavioral patterns in the current life. Perhaps most significantly, many individuals demonstrate knowledge and abilities that are inconsistent with their age, background, and life experiences, suggesting access to information beyond their personal learning. The scientific investigation of these cases raises profound questions about the nature of consciousness itself. If consciousness is simply a product of brain activity, as mainstream neuroscience maintains, then the memories and knowledge demonstrated by these individuals under hypnosis should be impossible. The fact that such cases continue to be documented and verified by rigorous scientific investigation suggests that our understanding of consciousness may be fundamentally incomplete. The possibility that some aspect of personal identity and memory might survive bodily death, potentially influencing subsequent lives, challenges not just scientific materialism, but our basic assumptions about what it means to be human and the very nature of existence. The cases of Laura Stevens, Jean-Luc Dubois, and Chloe Davis represent just a small fraction of the documented evidence suggesting the survival of consciousness beyond death, sometimes revealed through the gateway of hypnotic regression. Each case, investigated by trained researchers and verified through multiple independent sources, presents compelling evidence that death may not be the end of our story. These individuals, under trance, didn't just recall fragments of previous lives. They accessed specific, detailed, verifiable information that enabled them to understand and even overcome inexplicable phobias, solve historical mysteries, and provide tantalizing glimpses into the enduring nature of the human spirit. Memories weren't vague or general, but precise and specific enough to lead investigators to exact historical events, identify specific individuals, and uncover details that had been hidden or lost for decades. The scientific documentation of these cases, published in peer-reviewed journals and investigated by respected researchers, provides a foundation of evidence that challenges our most basic assumptions about consciousness, memory, and the possibility of life after death. As we continue to explore the mysteries of consciousness and the nature of human identity, cases like these remind us that reality may be far stranger and more complex than we ever imagined. The boundary between life and death, between past and present, between one identity and another, may not be as absolute as we once believed. The chilling revelation from Laura Stevens, under the gentle sway of hypnosis, how she died in a plane crash she was never in, continues to echo through the corridors of scientific inquiry. Simple words that opened a doorway to possibilities we're only beginning to understand, and questions we're only beginning to ask. In a world where consciousness remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of science, These cases offer tantalizing glimpses of truths that lie beyond the boundaries of our current understanding. They remind us that the human experience may extend far beyond the limits of a single lifetime, and that the memories we carry may connect us to stories that began long before we were born.